Call the meeting to order at 7:05 p.m. And I would maybe just ask if we start our meeting with just a moment of silence. Terry Rothfuss today, beloved member of this community and a person that gave so much to this community, lost his battle to cancer. And I think it would be very appropriate just to take a moment and keep not only his family, his wife Mary Lou and their children, but all of the Rothfuss family in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Okay, we'll let the minutes reflect that the board is here, along with members of the staff. Mr. Costello, thank you. We have the June 11th minutes before us, and would entertain a motion of approval of those minutes.
I'll move.
Okay, Rob, thank you. Second?
A second.
Okay, Linda. Any discussion? Any discussion on the minutes as written?
Nope.
Okay, then they will stand approved as written. Thank you, Lisa, as always. Nothing from a monthly report standpoint. All the monthly reports have been in and received. There are no public hearings this evening, no guests this evening, and we have two action items under Law and Finance following up from our meeting last Wednesday. And with that, Jim, if you would lead us through that discussion.
Thank you, Tony. The first one this evening is I've taken the liberty of preparing draft resolutions for your review. The first one to talk about is the proposed outdoor dining area for the Inikati Restaurant at 1857 Penfield Road. I took some documentation from the original resolution that you approved back in 2012. At that time, as you remember, Mr. Abarca came to us, asked for his approval for the restaurant, which you granted. He had also at that time asked for outdoor dining, and he felt it was appropriate at that point in time to let him get established. I made some reference to that in the resolution, at which point in time he certainly went out and established his restaurant and has been a great operator in town since then. I make note of the fact that the applicant is asking for a 16 by 16 foot deck, which is a total of 256 square feet to the rear of the building. It will meet all the existing setbacks of the building itself. The conditions are that he gets his conditional use permit, that he meets the occupancy requirements for the deck, which is 16 seats. How he chooses to break them up is his business, but he can't have more than 16 seats on the deck. You had some concerns to make sure there was adequate parking, and there's actually more than adequate parking, and he and his next door neighbor have an agreement to have reciprocal parking and access for the property. You did talk about the issues related to potential noise and chatter as it relates to people being on the deck, which is natural. You did talk about, and I want your input on this issue, you did talk about the potential installation of an 8-foot high fence just abutting the deck area. It could be incorporated into the deck if you want to minimize or lower that chatter to the neighbors. We talked about the fact that he currently has a liquor license on the site, which is totally valid. I don't know if you need to have another liquor license for the outdoor dining area, so he should check with the liquor authority to make sure that that's the case. If he can work under his existing license, that's fine. Sometimes they allow that, sometimes they require an additional license for that purpose. Talked about
Hours of operation.
the hours of operation. Tony had suggested that possibly we allow dining to, service to occur till 9:30 p.m. and then stop, and then the deck be closed at 10 o'clock on a nightly basis. And that's a potential condition of approval if everybody's agreeable to that. I also didn't really know. I know when Jose submitted his sketches to you, there was a sketch in there that was blue, and I don't know if that's the color. It may have just been the way the thing printed out. But my comment was that if there's going to be any painting of the deck, that you'd want to see the color scheme for that before he finally paints it, and that he can just send to you via email and make sure you're comfortable with it. And then I just made the statements that he's operated there since his approval on September 5th, 2012. that the business is well established. You gave him a time frame of at least one year, and he's well exceeded that. Now he's going into his second year, so he's all set with that. The site's been in full compliance with the town's ordinances since he opened. As a matter of fact, he took care of some violations on the site that had previously been on the site prior to him opening. I talked about the fact that music on the deck area would be pipe music. There's no live music or anything of that nature. Can't exceed the boundaries of the property, which Paula had brought up in the public hearing. And then again, the hours of operations were identified as being modified to accommodate the 9:30 and 10 o'clock issue. He said he would adhere to that. And then fencing, we made that a finding to minimize impacts to the neighbors. And just made the comment that he does have adequate parking, and that the use furthers the goals of the Four Corners zoning district. So if anybody has any comments or wants to make any additions, please let me know, and I'll incorporate those in prior to Friday.
Jim, did you hear any feedback from any residents or any other
Now,
businesses?
we did, as you noted in the public hearing, we did send out notices to everybody. I have
And
not heard anything from
okay.
anybody.
And we haven't heard, from my office, haven't heard anything either. So either from a staff standpoint or supervisor, town board standpoint, no feedback from any neighbor. So, okay. All right, so if everybody's comfortable, then we'll ask Jim to get the resolution in by Friday noon and ready for Wednesday. And then we do have the applicant here, and we just ask. So I was just looking at my notes. Jose, your plan to actually complete and open the deck, approximately, what are you looking at?
As soon as you allow us to, we'll start construction.
Okay.
And that's a very good point, because you may want to get your plans into the building department as quickly as possible. You have them now, so get them into the building department, and I will share them with them as well, so they've got some time to review, because they're running a little bit tight right now on.
Yeah, I'm helping that situation. I'm bringing in a person to work part-time. Was currently a building inspector in Brighton, and that person will be giving us 10 to 12 hours here.
That's great.
Help some of our backlog to just minimize
A lot of
some of
people,
the
once
things.
the weather broke, they decided they
Yeah.
want to do.
So, but that's a good point,
I'll get your
Jim.
information into them tomorrow, but you need to get insurance and that kind of thing to them, so you may want to stop by and talk to them if you get a chance in the morning, or
Okay.
go through that with them, just to make sure you got everything you
The
need.
construction department.
Yeah, the building
Building department.
Right across from you.
Okay.
And they'll have your stuff, because I'll give it to them tomorrow, okay?
Okay. Good.
You'll need some lead time for them.
Good. Anything else? Any other?
Congratulations on success so far.
Well, thank you.
We're on a good place.
We're plugging along. Thank you very much.
A lot of
Appreciate
good chatter about your business, so that's a good thing.
it. Good, thank you very much.
Good.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right.
We appreciate it. Thanks for, thank you for stopping in.
All right.
Okay, we'll move in, and again, I would just encourage you, Jose, that, get your plans, or just follow up tomorrow to get your plans into the queue to get reviewed.
Thank you.
So, okay. All right, the second item, Mr. Kaz.
Second item is the young lady Shannon Oscom, who had requested, and we had a public hearing, she requested a permit for her clothing consignment shop. She is proposing to take over the first floor of the shop that is at the 1865 Penfield Road, formerly the Cupcake Shop, formerly the Chocolate Shop. There is also a small area below that, in the lower area, that's going to be utilized for storage. And we've identified that as a condition where it can only be used for storage. She's got to get her conditional use permit. It's a non-transferable permit, as all of them are. She has to meet the occupancy requirements for the fire marshal, which she will, because there's a number of people working on the site. She indicated at this point in time that she wasn't looking for a sign on the building or on the outside, or on the freestanding sign, but I suspect that'll change at some point in time, so I've asked her to comply with code requirements for that.
What I captured from the public hearing is that she was looking for a sign on the door, similar
Yeah.
to what was there for the cupcake, and then she would have something in the window, in the
In the
window.
window, right.
Right.
I did do an investigation of the site, though. There is one sign that's not in compliance, and we're going to have to talk to the owners about that, and I will take care of that, but that has nothing to do with her. But I'll get that resolved in the next few days. There is adequate parking on site. They did recently build a new parking area behind the building. There's usually 1 or 2 cars in that parking lot, and there's space for about 10 spaces, I believe. I want to make sure that all refuse is properly disposed of. They currently do not have a dumpster, and I don't think there's an intent to have one, but in any event, whatever they're doing, they've got to make sure it's properly disposed of and secured. And then just making comments that they're utilizing the space that was used by prior operators. It's scaled properly, and that they comply with our requirements for occupancy. And any remodeling, they've got to get a permit. They know that. So I don't think there's going to be any remodeling. I think it's just basically paint and that's it there. So I know that the fire marshal has walked through it, so he's aware of what's in there. And I didn't hear anything from him as to any violations on the site, so I think we're okay.
There's nothing in here that just references hours. Is it common?
Only in the fact that she has to comply with the hours that are permitted by
district.
code, and that's 6 a.m. to midnight, which she's indicated would not be the case in any event. I don't like limiting people to 2 hours unless we have a concern, especially like we did for the outdoor dining.
She had set forth some hours, but sometimes that changes. It might be a little
Yeah.
ambitious, sound a little ambitious, but
Yeah, she was there, I think, every day, wasn't she?
till 8 o'clock or,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, yeah, 7 days.
So that's it.
Okay.
And again, any comments, please let me
Any
know.
other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, again, we'll do the resolution for noon on Friday. We'll get that into the clerk's office. Okay, there are no other items either of action or information on the agenda for this evening. Is there anything that will create a hardship if we don't discuss it prior to the next work session? All right, seeing none, then we'll officially declare this work session of June 25th adjourned at 17:17.